want to do kind of a rant. I had a request from a friend of mine on Facebook over in the UK, Stuart, that was asking me, he said, Dean, what do you think about this? And he had this link to this Glenn Beck video that was on some news piece or something, and wanted me to respond to it and ask what I thought about it. He goes, what do you think about this clown? And I've seen this before for years with video games, heavy metal music, movies, you name it. It's been demonized by people that supposedly know better, know best what's for us. And that's why, sadly, I probably won't see a Manhunt 3 because of these individuals. I happen to be one of those people. Now, I'm a pretty up person, positive. I'm careful what I put into my mind and feed my mind, but I have a wide range of taste. As an artistic person, as a right-brain person, there's a lot of things I like. Not everyone's going to like the hardcore films that I like. Not everyone's going to like a game, like Manhunt. And the violence in this. Now, it does have a good story, and it has some interesting characters, but it's a very dark game. But I don't push this on people, but don't try to take away my right to play it. It's an M-rated game. It's M for mature. What is little Johnny at 9 years old playing Manhunt? Maybe that could be, or have a reason why he's not doing well in school. I mean, this could give you nightmares. But for a grown adult, that's fine. People have, through this time, going back in history, love to find a scapegoat and demonize things. And what I found it typically is people are just simply down on what they aren't up on. I don't have to look too much farther in my own family for this. Now, my father was a minister growing up, so I had it tough. I wasn't allowed to play with G.I. Joe action figures or Evel Knievel because it was too violent and exploitive, all this stuff. My father's a pacifist. Now, some of you out in the audience may think that's great. He became a Jehovah's Witness so he could avoid the Vietnam War. He didn't want to be drafted. I understand the fear of that. I don't agree with the draft. People are going to do the things that they feel comfortable doing. Some people fled to Canada. That's fine. You do what you have to do. You have to answer to yourself at the end of the day. But I find that I wouldn't demonize him for that. He just didn't want to go to war. I have mixed feelings about war. I think that we should defend ourselves if need be. But I think I agree with Benjamin Franklin that we shouldn't really get meddled with other countries and go too far and create wars and create problems. I think we have plenty of things at home that we can address. We don't need to look elsewhere for that. I don't like war. I have a nephew right now that's he could be going over to the Middle East, to Afghanistan, and I'm concerned for him. In the U.S. Army. I don't want him to get killed. I like him. We both like to play games together. We both like the same kind of violent, action FPS games. And he's a sweet person. Because of those games isn't the reason why he joined the Army. Just so happens he likes FPS games, but he likes racing games and other things too. Everyone has their own taste in things. My dad would come in and see me playing, years ago when I lived down in Southern California. Came by and saw me playing this one day, and God, I never heard the end of it. He was worried about my very soul being jeopardized, virtually because of this Manhunt game. And it's a hardcore game. But to me, what this is, it's like junk food. When I went to the midnight release for the PlayStation 4, I filmed my drive-thru going through McDonald's. It was late at night. There's not many places open. I knew there was a McDonald's open. I don't eat it every day. I don't eat it all the time. But once in a while, I want just a cheap quarter pounder of cheese and some fries and a shake. So I did it. I had some. But don't judge me because of the one time you see me eat, he eats nothing but McDonald's. No, I have McDonald's about every 3 or 4 months, very rarely. Usually it's when I'm in a hurry. There's a McDonald's there, and it could be a Wendy's or Carl's Jr., it could be virtually any hamburger chain or a Mexican food chain, and I'll just go through the drive-thru. I'm in a hurry. I just want something to eat quick. I'm starving, and get back on the road. That's it. It doesn't mean that I eat that way all the time. It's the same thing with movies. For years, even my show is after a violent action film, Escape from New York. It's got some very dark tones to that story, to the movie itself. It's by today's standards, it's very soft and mild compared to some of the hardcore, violent action films that we have today. But I like John Carpenter's stories. The Thing, Assault on Precinct 13, many of these, Christine, many of these films. Because I like the action, I like the violence, I like the horror elements, but I don't feed on it 24/7. You have to kind of limit what goes in your mind, but I'm able to separate, fact from fiction. I mean, the Beatles, years ago, were chastised and people burned their records in vast volumes because of the Charles Manson murders. They blamed it on the Beatles because someone wrote some of the Beatles lyrics to some of their songs in the victim's blood on the wall at the Sharon Tate house up in the Hollywood Hills where the murders occurred from Charles Manson and his minions there. And it was a horrible thing. But to ban the Beatles because of it or to blame rock music because of it is absurd. This is the same argument I heard about, marijuana. It's a gateway drug to heroin. You'll be shooting up smack and everything else. Now, I don't agree that any child should do drugs, and even in high school, they shouldn't do it. Don't just get through life. Try to focus. Use your brain, all of it that you have. Try to get your life on track. And then, if you're older and you're ready and you want to go into a bar and have a drink, or you want to smoke some pot or something, that's your choice. It should be each person's choice as to what they want to do. I think that there's a time and a place for everything. That's why we have M ratings on games, because it's let people know it's for mature audiences only. You got to be 21 to buy alcohol here in California. That's good. Now, as a kid, I had a sip of my grandfather's beer once in a while, but I never really had a taste for it until I got into my 20s. And then by then, I was like, I'll try some beer. All my friends were doing it. But I grew up in a very strict house. Like I said, I wasn't allowed to play, I couldn't play like with G.I. Joe action figures and the Evel Knievel action figure. My dad thought they were exploitive and violent, unnecessary. I wasn't allowed to even have any pretend guns, BB guns, anything. My dad was a pacifist. Kind of a liberal. He didn't believe in war, and I am not a warmonger. I don't like war either. I have real strong mixed feelings about it. But it was tough for me as a kid because a lot of things I wanted I couldn't have. So maybe that's why I had so much of an interest later to play violent video games or to watch horror films. Like when I saw The Exorcist for the first time, it scared the shit out of me, The Exorcist 2 I enjoyed too, but the third one was really intense. I really liked the pacing and the action, and I got some really good fright and scares out of The Exorcist 3 as well. I like those kind of films. I don't go out of my way to watch a lot of the hardcore bloodbath slasher films like I used to when I was a kid. When you're a kid, you go through a phase where you want to see that stuff. You just want to see what it's like. But again, I don't feed my mind. It's like junk food. If you feed your mind nothing but violent video games, and action stuff and snuff films and things like that, well, naturally it's going to have an effect on you. So you have to balance yourself and have a balance in life. And I think that with video games, to blame video games for the cause of society and youth, I mean, they did that with the Columbine shootings. They said, right before they were listening to Rammstein and some other industrial metal bands, which I happen to like. Now, I don't listen to Rammstein 24/7. There was a time where I listened to a lot more of it than I do now, along with Nine Inch Nails or Alice in Chains or anything else. But I like it in small doses. When I'm in the mood for it, I want something loud, I crank Rammstein. Or I'll crank Nine Inch Nails. Or I'll play Alice in Chains. Or I'll play Black Sabbath. After 40 years of listening to it, whatever it's been. I love that stuff. I love Black Sabbath. I like the dark lyrics and tones in it, but I don't feed on it all the time. I have to be in the mood for it. Quite often I can listen to Stevie Nicks or The Doors or something else that's a little bit more mellow. I don't always have to have dark things in my life. And I think this is where people need to separate all of this stuff. I mean, burning the Beatles albums because of the Charles Manson's murders is like, blaming video games because a few people were killed out of the millions that played Call of Duty. Unfortunately, some kid took it upon himself to blame Call of Duty, so he singles that out, or some kids think that they're going to be hackers now because they're playing Watch Dogs. Now, I personally don't want to play Watch Dogs. I don't like the concept of hacking. I don't like intrusions of people trying to put viruses and Trojans into my computer and hacking the things that I have. So just because of the basic nature and premise of it, as good as the graphics look, as fun as the open world elements look, it's just not for me. But I'm not going to demonize it, and if I had to review it, I wouldn't give it a bad review because I just personally don't care for the premise, so I won't buy the game. But yet something like, Wolfenstein New Order, this has got a lot more gore and violence and hardcore elements than you could ever have in a game like Watch Dogs, But I can separate it for what it is. I see the redeeming qualities in this. Yes, it's got hardcore. His head's exploding, brain chunks flying, blood splattering all over the walls. I had a friend on my impressions video left a comment, yeah, Dean, I'll probably pass on that. I don't feel comfortable with the torture scenes and with the overall gore in it. And I said, that's fine. Not everyone is going to want this. I wouldn't shove this down their throat. I have a taste for that kind of stuff. Once in a while, I like it. Now, I happen to be a gun person. I love guns, and I've shot a lot of them and had a lot of fun on shooting ranges and just going out in the country with a carload of guns and shooting stuff up. But I would never hurt an animal. I don't shoot animals. For 10 years, I was a vegetarian, not because of the health reasons, but because I just don't like eating animals. I don't like slaughterhouses. I don't like killing animals. I'm still wrestling with it now. I may become a vegan down the road just for that reason alone. I don't like hurting other living things, even insects and things. I try to live and let live. I try not to kill unless I absolutely have to. I will defend my home, though. If someone breaks into my home and attacks my wife or my daughter or my cat, Minnie, or anything, you better believe I'm going to pull a 45 out and I'm going to show them another way out of this house. That's it. It doesn't mean that I want to shoot them, but I like to be able to protect myself and have the right to protect myself if I need to. I'm not an NRA member. I don't like a lot of the conservative crap that's being pushed down people's throats, but I'm not a liberal either. I believe in thinking for myself. I believe in personal freedom. I believe if people want to play a violent game like Wolfenstein, they should play it. Now in Germany, they've taken all of the SWAT stickers off all the uniforms and the flags and the propaganda posters in the background because they're not allowed to have the Nazi symbols in that country, and that's fine. I mean, that's something that they have set in stone, but people can still play the game and get the gist of the game. But what this game does in the end of the day, even with all the horror, and this has some very dark, hardcore tone to it, extremely dark nature to it, but what it does have by the end of it, because I've watched an entire playthrough of this already, even though I haven't finished, I'm about 2/3 of the way through it right now, is that it has a redeeming story. It's good versus evil, and in the end, good wins over evil. That to me makes it worthwhile. A film like Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses is interesting and artistically done as it is, and I like Rob Zombie, and I saw him live when he was with White Zombie, the Cat House in Hollywood, when he had his first album that just came out. That week I saw him with less than 120 people. I like him. He's an artist. He's my age. He likes a lot of the same pop culture and film stuff that I do. But I didn't care for that particular film because I thought it was just killing, senseless killing for the sake of killing. There was really no moral to the story or anything like that. But I did like his remake of the first Halloween movie. I thought was quite good. I just saw another film which I mentioned recently, The Counselor by Ridley Scott. Here's a film with hardcore gore in it, blood, beheadings, elements of snuff films, drug trafficking, some of the most hardcore sex stuff that you'll see. It has a lot of exploitive things in its very nature, but yet it still has a positive story. And the moral that I took away from that film was, you lie down with a snake, you're gonna get bit. It had a positive story at the end of it all, as nightmarish as it was. Those are the things that I look for. I try to take something away from a film, a book, a video game that's positive for me, that I can feed on. I still like junk food. I still like to pack my pie hole with ice cream and cheesecake and chocolate, and that's why I've got so much weight on because of it. I'm reaping what I've sowed, virtually. But I believe in life that there's a balance. You can have a balance. Doesn't mean you should never eat ice cream again. You just limit it. Don't eat it every night, So this is what I do with video games. I mean, there's times where I just like a simple little platformer, like Rayman Legends. I think that some of those games are wonderful. They're delightful. I see why people like the cutesy Mario games and stuff. They just want to play a fun video game that's fun. It just takes them away from the cares of the world. Not everyone wants to play a dark adventure like this, but I love this kind of stuff. But I also like racing games, and I love fun old platformers, like Gex, stuff like that. I think those are great games. It doesn't mean that but from the viewpoint of my father and some hardcore authoritative people like that, they just love, because they're not into it personally, they like to put it down. It's that Ozzy Osbourne you're listening to. That's what's screwing this country. And we had there were people that were coming out railing against Ozzy Osbourne, saying that people had committed suicide because they listened to Suicide Solution from Ozzy Osbourne. Oh, so let's burn every Ozzy album that comes out. I mean, come on. It's crazy. When is this going to stop ending? We got to stop punishing everyone because a few people are psychotics. They're sociopaths. They're going to take a box of crayons and they'll see evil in it and kill someone with the crayons. I mean, this is the world that we live in. We got to stop this thing. We're trying to marshal everyone's right to have what they want. You know, as an adult, you should have the right. If you want to smoke pot, you should smoke pot. If you want to have a beer, drink a beer. It's not going to, but I've never done other harder drugs. I've never done cocaine or, methamphetamines or heroin or anything else. I have no desire to. But once in a while, yeah, I might like to smoke some pot. I may want to have a nice IPA beer. It doesn't mean that I'm evil. It doesn't mean that I'm going to hell. My father-in-law is a retired Pentecostal minister in his mid-70s, 75, 76. He loves Red Dead Redemption. He doesn't care for some of the sex scenes and some of the over-the-top violence in it, but he likes it because it's a Western and it's fun. We also play all the Tomb Raider games. We've played like 4 different Tomb Raider games together. He likes the platforming, the exploration, the puzzles in it. He likes the gun battles and stuff in it and the stealth kills. It's fun. They're video games. He even can separate it. And he's a hardcore, retired, Pentecostal minister. And he doesn't even have an issue with it. I mean, people take things too far. You got to take it in balance. Not everything is black and white. You know, we have gray areas in life. I wish people could be a little bit more understanding of that and not feel the need to demonize the things in life that may mislead a few people. Naturally, you overdose, you drink too much soda and kill yourself and die, literally. Anything can kill you in high doses. You've got to limit the junk food in life. And a lot of this stuff is junk food. I don't feed on this stuff 24/7. I was mentioning this Twisted Metal game. I found some very unredeeming, unsavory elements in the story and the characters, murder for the sake of murder, and they weren't really likable characters in this game. Now, I miss the old Twisted Metal, where it's just fun and Calypso and granting your wish. And even Twisted Metal Black, as dark as that was a fun game. This went a little too far with it, for me personally. I didn't really care for this. And I may not get the Evil Within for the same reason. It's just too hardcore, over the top for me personally. But it doesn't mean it's a bad game or that I'd throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think the split screen and the story mode in this are fantastic. I would get a PS3 just to play this. I just quietly stopped playing the story mode. I don't care for the story of this. I don't like the nature of it. I just stopped playing. It's that simple. I don't have to go on a soapbox and a campaign to demonize it. That's the difference. So, this is what I see way too much of with games in particular, is people that don't understand. They blame it. The parents need to do a better job. When little Johnny's playing Grand Theft Auto 5 at 9, 10, 12 years old, that's a problem. You need to do a better job of parenting, my friend. And stop blaming it on video games because you failed as a parent. Don't blame the school system. You take responsibility. So this is part of the problem. I had to be fairly strict with my own daughter, but I still bought her a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. Now, I bought her more of the Spyro games and the fun little platformers and stuff like that. And she likes those games even to this day. She had no desire. I'm not going to force her to play Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green on the Xbox because I like it. And I wouldn't let her come in and watch me play that game. She came in a couple times and would see me playing it, and she could see it bothered her. She'd turn around and would go right back around and close the door quietly. And I thought, oh God, she's probably out here getting a drink of water or something, saw me playing it. So I tried to limit her. I didn't want her to see me playing Manhunt in games like that. I tried to limit the exposure that she would see that because they're hardcore things. It's not for children to see. So I think as parents, if we're all responsible, we can make the best choices for ourselves and for our family members. But to try to, restrict it for everyone is foolishness. The same thing with guns or eating meat or soda pop or anything else. It's absurd. It's got to stop. This crazy behavior of trying to marshal everyone to a new world order of thinking. It's fascism. That's it, plain and simple. So anyway, that's my rant on it. I'm appalled that people are still blaming heavy metal music in video games in particular for people's psychotic crimes. It has nothing to do with video games. And the people that make soapboxes and platforms on it are the ones, frankly, that are highly in question. And they're the ones I'm going to be taking a closer look at and boycotting as much as possible. So anyway, that's my little pontification, if that's a word, on violence in video games and movies and music. I just want to get off my chest and add my 2 cents. I know a few other people have been talking about it lately, and it really bothers me. It drives me nuts. So it's just my 2 cents on it. So thanks for watching. Enjoy your favorite games, movies, whether they're little fun platformers or there's something really violent like the new Wolfenstein. Have fun and enjoy those games.